Welcome back, students. Welcome to Priyaslifescienceacademy to a new lecture. It is again on inheritance biology, genetics. Okay, this lecture will be helpful for the students, those who are preparing for CSIR Neet Life Science, Icmr, GATE Life Science, and for UG/PG courses as well. So listen carefully. Today we will study some of the very important topics related to genetics and inheritance biology. So the first one is pleiotropy, and these topics are very simple to understand if you listen carefully to my words. So what is pleiotropy? By the name suggests, pleiotropy, pleo means multiple, okay, and tropy means characters. When a gene is responsible for more than one characteristic features, this phenomenon is known as pleiotropy. Okay, so pleiotropy is the effect of a single gene or more than one trait or characteristic. Okay, so by the diagram you can understand gene X is responsible for more than one characteristic feature. So genes that affect multiple apparently unrelated phenotypes are also known as pleiotropic genes. But pleiotropy should not be confused with polygenic traits. Polygenic traits and pleiotropy are two reverse forms, like in which multiple genes are responsible for a single trait, or multiple allelism, like multiple alleles are there, in which a gene may have more than two alleles. Okay, so and there are some of the characters, those are governed by multiple genes, but pleiotropy is different. One gene is responsible for multiple characters. Okay, so pleiotropy refers to the fact that most proteins have multiple roles in distinct cell types. You know that there are different type of cell types in our body, and some proteins have multiple roles in that distinct cell types. Any genetic change that alters gene expression or function can potentially have wide-ranging effects in a variety of tissue, because that protein is very much important for a multiple characteristic feature. If there is any change, that change will cause a very much drastic effect in variety of tissues. Okay, so coming to the few examples of pleiotropy, we can see in pea plants that there are some genes which are pleiotropic, that they can contribute to multiple characteristic features. And Mendel noticed that plants with colored seeds coats always have colored flowers and colored leaf axils. So now it is well known that Mendel's observation with the result of pleiotropy, or the phenomenon in which a single gene contributes to multiple phenotypic traits. Okay, where you could see that the flower color, seed color, coat color, these are contributed by a single gene. Okay, now coming to the few more examples, that is vestigial gene in fruit fly. In Drosophila, there is a known gene known as vestigial gene. That gene is very much important for its wing development. The VG gene, VG is for vestigial, okay. The VG gene also controls position of bristles on a fly's scutellum and number of egg strings in flies' ovaries, and also length of flies' life. So you can see that a single gene VG is responsible for more than one characteristic features. Okay, and now example of pleiotropy in cat, pigmentation and deafness in cat. Okay, two scientists Hertie and Jones, while studying fur color and deafness in cats, observed that approximately 40% cats with white fur and blue eyes are deaf. Okay, it was also found that while cats with one blue eye and one yellow-orange eye were deaf only on the blue-eyed side. So that means the blue eye color and the deafness are related. Okay, so whenever the cats are deaf, they are blue-eyed color, or vice versa. So there is a single, so from this what we can understand, there is one single gene responsible for both deafness and the blue eye color. Okay, now another example is the frizzled feather in chicken, where you can see the frizzled feather in chicken. Chickens exhibit various traits affected by pleiotropic genes. Some chickens exhibit frizzled feather trait, where their feathers curl outward and upward rather than lying flat against the body. Frizzled gene exhibits pleiotropic nature, as along with producing defected feathers. Okay, it also causes abnormal body temperature, higher metabolic and blood flow rates, greater digestive capacity, accelerated heart rate, and delayed sexual maturity. So, along with producing defective feathers, it is also accustomed with lot more other features in chicken. So, this is pleiotropy. Very simple, a single gene that will be responsible for more than one characteristic feature. Now, coming to the next part, the next phenomenon, penetrance. So, what is penetrance? Penetrance is nothing but the proportion of individual in the population expressing a certain phenotype corresponding to a genotype is called penetrance. If all individual in population expresses the phenotype corresponding to the genotype, it is called as complete penetrance. For example, I am telling you that capital A or capital A small a. For example, this capital A is responsible for black color body pigment. So even if the genotype is capital A or capital A small a, as because the capital A is a dominant allele for the black color gene of the body, so they will express the black color. Okay, but there are some instances where even if the animals are the genotype of capital A or capital A small a, they will not express the black pigment of the body. So in spite of the genotype, there will be some individuals where the penetrance of the characteristics is not there. So the characteristic is not penetrated even if they have that genotype. Okay, so these animals will not be black. So, if some of the individuals in the population fail to express a phenotype corresponding to a genotype, it is called the incomplete penetrance. So, this is the case of incomplete penetrance. Because you have that genotype, but you are not expressing the phenotype the genotype was supposed to be. So, capital A or capital A small a supposed to produce black color, but in spite of having that same genotype, the individuals are not producing that black color. So it is known as incomplete penetrance because the characteristic features are not completely penetrated in spite of having the genotype. Okay, so very important example of this is polydactyly, that is the extra fingers and toes in humans. Here you can see that extra fingers in humans. This polydactyly is a genetic case, genetically inherited disease, polydactyly, extra fingers. But there are some instances that this polydactyly, even if they have that same genetic composition, they are not polydactyly in nature. Now there is a question. Why, in spite of having the same genotype, the individuals are not expressing the phenotype? So the answer lies here that reduced penetrance probably results from a combination of genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors. There must be some genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors which is having an effect on the phenotype, many of which are unknown. This phenomenon can make it challenging for genetics professionals to interpret a person's family, medical history, and predict the risk of passing it. So these are some instances in our genetics that even if you have that genotype, you are not expressing the phenotype. So it might be caused by any environmental factors, lifestyle factors, or any kind of other factors might be responsible. Okay. Now the next term is expressivity. What is expressivity? Penetrance is quantified and having values ranging from 0 to 100%. The degree to which a genotype is expressed in different region of individual is called expressivity. It's very, very important. So you know penetrance, because penetrance means if you have a genotype, if it is expressed as a phenotype, that means you have a complete penetrance. Or if you have a genotype, it is not expressed in phenotype, there is no penetrance, incomplete penetrance. But here expressivity, the degree to which a genotype is expressed. So I gave you example of penetrance is polydactyly, that is extra fingers in it may be in hand or it may be in toe. So expressivity defines the degree to which a genotype is expressed in different region it can be in hands, it can be in legs, okay? So it expresses the degree, it defines the degree to which a genotype is expressed. That is known as expressivity. If all region of the body phenotype corresponding to genotype, then it is known as complete expressivity. If this polydactyly happens in hands or in toes as well, so you will say it as complete expressivity. If some region of the body failed to show phenotype corresponding to the genotype, then it is called incomplete expressivity. That means if you have the polydactyly case in hand, not in leg, or if you have in leg, not in hand, okay? So expressivity on the other hand refers in variation in phenotypic expression. When an allele is present, but there is a variation of expression. Back to polydactyly example, an extra digit may occur in one or more appendages. This digit can be a full size or just a stub. Hence, this allele has reduced penetrance and as well as variable expressivity. Okay. Penetrance is also reduced and expressivity is also variable. So variable expressivity refers to the range of signs and symptoms that can occur in different people with the same genetic condition. As with reduced penetrance, variable expressivity is probably caused by a combination of genetic, environmental and lifestyle factors. Same as penetrance, variable expressivity is also will be the result of any kind of genetic, environmental and lifestyle factors, most of which have not identified. If a genetic condition has highly variable signs and symptoms, it may be challenging to diagnose, because if a genetic like polydactyly it's a variable expressivity and of variable penetrance also, so it's very hard to track its generation. Okay, so it's a penetrance and expressivity. Here you can see that one person with polydactyly may have an extra digit on both hands and foot, but another may have just one extra fingertip. Okay, here it has just one, he has one fingertip, but he has the polydactyly feature in both hand and feet. So polydactyly is both incompletely penetrant and variably expressive character. So polydactyly is the example of incomplete penetrance and variable expressivities. Thank you, students. I hope you understood this very clearly. If you have any queries, you can always comment below. I'll be very happy to give you a suitable reply. Thank you for listening. Keep learning. Fight for your dreams. Your dreams will fight for you. Thank you.